Thank you very much, Helena. I must say this, it's for me very enlightening to just, and also to highlight to the you know, to have an intercultural lens. Many of these concepts become transformative. You know, the happiness from singular, you know, from a hedonistic to a common happiness. That's really, really powerful. To that intercultural lens, to have that. And yeah, and I think also the other thing just to highlight is the links about space and the creation of spaces, and Ola was also talking about that earlier. So anyway, so without further ado, Marion, I'm going to hand the baton to you. Marion will be our last UNESCO Chair TED Talk, and then we'll conclude the session. So Marion, please.
Thank you, Sarah. Duncan, I think you can shoot with the presentation. Thank you so much for the kind introduction, and also thank you for having me. Yesterday in the small group, somehow I came out with saying there are no coincidences, because that's how my life just played out, and there are no coincidences. And having just heard, and also having met Helena before, and having seen the initiative that Dala and Sarah did on the first day with the storytelling, being here also with my former dean, Professor Klopper, in the same room after a long time, and just interacting also with Tabuya and listening to Milton and everybody else today. It just is, sometimes there is the right time. And that's what I've been feeling since yesterday, that it is a different time, and I think it is a very special time that we find ourselves in. And so thank you so much for the initiative. I feel very privileged to be a part of this. Thank you. So, yeah, maybe also like Ola said, a very mixed background, and I think I would like to share that. I came to South Africa from Germany in 1990, just after Nelson Mandela was released from prison. I was at the Berlin Wall in 1989 as an active student with my hammer, and I still have the stone. And I think being in one lifetime in South Africa between, especially in 1990 and 1994, and having the Berlin experience is very humbling, and it's also a sign that change can happen, and when the right people come together with the right mind, then miracles can happen. And then I came and I studied at the University of the Western Cape, and again, a huge privilege. I had Desmond Tutu as my chancellor for 18 years. So working under his leadership and still working with his daughter Thandi now, is also, it has influenced my home life and my professional life. Very mixed background. My husband is American, my one daughter is Zimbabwean, my other one sees herself as South African, although she's now in Europe. It's been, South Africa is our home, and I'm really happy that we chose it as our home, also especially in terms of what it has given our family and our children. From my heart, I'm a sports scientist. I studied sports science at the University of Heidelberg, but I also studied law at the University of the Western Cape, and an advocate of the High Court of South Africa. But my heart is really in terms of how one can use sport as a tool for peace building, for development, and for values transfer, values education. I just see, okay, is this one? Yes, so I'm just like half an hour away from here at the University of the Western Cape. It's a historically quite significant university, that it was a non-white university in South Africa, and as I said, Archbishop Tutu as a chancellor. And then also when Nelson Mandela became president, he took actually quite a number of our deans. So historically, and it has been very gratifying for me to teach there, because the students that we teach go back into the communities they come from and make those change as sports ambassadors and for social change. So I chair the Interdisciplinary Center for Sports Science and Development. It's the only center in Africa that focuses not on high performance or on sports management, but really uses the concept of development and peace. And also the chair is, although the whole of Africa is really like so, sport is so popular. There has never been a chair in sport, so it was a special privilege actually to, and the focus of UNESCO, especially with the PASS initiative, to look at how sport can serve the continent and how we can work together. So what we do, obviously, research, teaching, training, community engagement, like everybody else as well. I think I would just like to mention some of the publications. We do the case for sport. The case for sport is actually looking how sport can impact on a country. We could prove that in the Western Cape that sports brings more money into the province than tourism. And when you have numbers like that, then politicians listen. Then all of a sudden they say, oh, we have to pump more money into sports initiatives, sports and peace initiatives, because that make a difference. And that is a continuous longitudinal study that we do with the province, also with my senior researcher, Professor de Koning, but then also other projects that I wanted to mention here. One is a project that we started with UNESCO in 2014. It's called Sport and Development Policy in Africa. So we are mapping the continent. That means all the countries in Africa, we will map and see what is their sports policy. Do they have sports and peace? Do they have gender equality? Do they have physical education at the school? What is their stance to corruption and transgressions in sport? We go to Italy and we buy ourselves a guide, where to go, what to eat, who to visit, what to visit. But when in terms of sports, we all want to work together, but we don't know anything about even our neighbor countries. So what we're doing is map, this is the book, so we're mapping the whole of the continent, and that is a big initiative in terms of the next 5 years. I also, like Darla, actually only started at the beginning of the year, so I'm also the new kid on the block. So that is one of our initiatives. The other one I will show you in a very little video clip a little bit later on storytelling. And then we do social transformation, leadership, and healing. But also looking at nation building at play and crime prevention and the role of universities in conflict resolution and conflict transformation in Africa. Partners, we work very closely with the German Sports University in Cologne, but also with the International Olympic Committee. I'm on the Education Commission of the IOC, but also International Paralympic Committee, UNESCO with QPE, so we were responsible for the coordination of the Quality Physical Education project. That was a project between Fiji, Mexico, Zambia, and South Africa, and that report came out 2 years ago. It's quite revealing because South Africa is one of the only countries actually in the world and the only one on the continent that doesn't have physical education as a standalone subject. In other words, we're actually missing out, and our youth is missing out quite a bit. In terms of qualifications, we have a diploma. It's an international diploma of sports development and peace, together with the United Nations. We also have a master's in sport for development, which is an online, both of them are online programs, and then the doctorate of philosophy in terms of sports for development. Yeah, these are just some of the graduates that went through the center. The UNESCO chair is very special. I'm sure you have heard the quote, "Sport has the power to change the world." It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to the youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where there was once only despair. It is an instrument for peace. These are not my words, these are the words of Nelson Mandela. And obviously with the 1995 World Cup in rugby, and also with the 2010 changes that the country went through with sport, it is something very powerful that we often forget because it's only recreational activity and so on and so on. But also in terms of next year with Paris in 2024, the Olympic Games, and where we would like to hold a conference around sport and peace, and we really hope that could be one project where we can work together. But with Senegal, the Youth Olympic Games will be for the very first time on the African continent, and we already have my eye on him in terms of Senegal 2026, how one can collaborate in that way. So what I actually would like to say is sport is a fundamental right for all. And the access to participation in sport is for all individuals and all ages in sport and physical education and physical activity. And when we talk about sport, we actually mean all physical activity that constitutes to or contributes to physical fitness, to mental well-being, to happiness, to social interaction, and to social inclusion. And sometimes when we look at where our youth comes from, that sporting activity, that recreational activity could be the only happy moment they have for the year, for the week, for the month, for the day. Obviously, sport also has negative sides, and that's what some of our students also research. But in terms of what it can give, and the role of the coaches as friends, as confidants, as counselors, as parents in our society is paramount. So that's why we're concentrating on sport. And there is besides the QPE initiative of UNESCO, there's a new initiative of UNESCO called Fit for Life. And the recent Sports Ministers Conference in Baku, like the one in Kazan beforehand, with the Kazan Action Plan, really cements sport as an enabler of the Sustainable Development Goals. It's not only a tool, but it's seen as an enabler. I was very intrigued when Milton spoke about peace and positive peace, because it's been a lot of my work as well. The peace building that we experience in South Africa, it's not necessarily the war and peace, but we see peace as a holistic concept. It is your physical peace, because we're looking for safe spaces and we're looking in terms of safeguarding. Every federation needs to have a safeguarding policy at the moment. We're looking at mental peace. We're looking at emotional peace, and we're looking at spiritual peace. So this holistic understanding of peace in our society is very, very crucial. And sport has a huge influence in that regard. So what we actually would like to do with the UNESCO chair, we're promoting sport development and peace at the global level through education and through communication and through information sharing. What we also would like to do is, when we go to conferences, whether it's in Italy or Norway, the global north, and that topic came out with Dala and others as well, is always there. I have presenters that talk about Caster Semenya from all parts of the world, but there's nobody that talks about Caster Semenya from South Africa. None of our students is on those platforms. And so what we would like to do is enhance develop a continental research hub in terms of African researchers and capacitating our young emerging researchers to participate in those debates and sport for development and peace, because that one is missing and lacking. But also then to enhance international collaboration with key players in the field for sport and development and peace. And I was very privileged to be at a conference with the Pope in April, because he also creates now the Network on Sport and Peace, with a focus on policy debate and research and exchange of case studies, also involving women and girls related to safeguarding and sports and values education through sport. Then a third one is to disseminate research findings, obviously, and to support dialogue and key issues related to safeguarding. Safeguarding is a really, really, really deep topic, because it encompasses a lot what, especially in terms of gender equality and human rights, is touching us these days. And then to develop a collection of research case studies on women and girls, safeguarding in sport, and focusing on Olympic values for research and teaching and community engagements. And then collaborate closely with the UNESCO chair, other UNESCO chairs. Since I started, I actually had asked UNESCO to send me a list of UNESCO chairs that work in the field of peace, of education, of values transfer. That list did not exist. So in the last half a year, we are putting it together. Helena is also helping on that regard. We met now 2 times already online. We're meeting the 3rd time on the 4th of September with the representative from the Paris office, just to get to know each other. What are people doing in Andorra, in Portugal, in South America? We don't know, and we're all UNESCO chairs, and it's an immense privilege to be a UNESCO chair, but we don't know each other. So that particular chair network that we have now created online, sometimes we are a lot, sometimes we are a few, but we get to know each other. I didn't know about happiness studies. I didn't know about hate studies until recently, which also other colleagues are doing. And so that exchange is very crucial, and it also fosters interdisciplinary collaboration across the global network that we want to create. In terms of Olympic values, I'd like to share that as well because it resonates again what Dala and Sarah did yesterday. So we're working with Olympic values and with Paralympic values. Olympic values are actually excellence is the first, and these are very transferable to what we do in our universities. We're working with our students in student leadership, teaching Olympic values, and also they hold the happiness index and what it means to be happy, holistically happy, like you spoke beforehand, Elena. So Olympic values is excellence, but it doesn't mean the gold medal. Excellence means you are the best that you can be. Respect yourself first, and then you respect others. The third one is fair play. Fair play on the field and fair play off the field. You cannot be a sports person that plays fair on the field and you go home and abuse your wife or your children. So that whole concept, friendship is number 4. Joy of effort is another one, and especially for our young people, the joy of effort, this intrinsic happiness that one feels to score that goal, to be part of a team. And then the last one, and we like that one, is the balance between body, mind, and spirit. So these are the Olympic values. Interestingly, there are Paralympic values which are not the same as the Olympic values, and I never actually know why we have that, because for me they're all universal values. But the Paralympic values are determination, and then Dala, for you, it's courage, and it's equality that are Paralympic values, and inspiration. So with those values, we look at our role models, at our young people in sport. We have in every country role models in sport. In fact, the Olympic Games is an event that has more participants in terms of countries than the United Nations. So it's over 200. And we have role models, young people that appear and disappear. We have to make use of those young people. We have to make use of those role models. And so in terms of this UNESCO chair, one project will be to work on Olympic education with the young role models in sport, and then also do a lot of monitoring, evaluation, and information sharing in that regard. Okay, I get a warning. I have to finish up here. This is what I said, actually, Sport for Development and Peace. I mentioned the network. And I would like to actually end with something that is a 2-minute video that will show you what we mean when we speak about storytelling and values transfer. So we work with the athletes and we look at the values transfer. And in our society in South Africa, and I think it's a lot in the global South, mothers and grandmothers' roles are not valued in that regard in terms of values education. Everybody knows a Nelson Mandela. Nobody knows the name of his mother. Nobody knows a Desmond Tutu, nobody knows the name of his mother. But it's those women and those unsung heroes, actually, that very often do the values transfer in terms of peace building, in terms of transformation, in terms of social change. So I'd like to end with a 2-minute, or I think it's 1.5, a 2-minute video of 2 of my colleagues. One has passed, unfortunately, he was at our university. The other one, he's very much linked here to the university. It's an Olympic medalist, it's Ilana Meyer and Chester Williams. And so this is the project of Umama, where we will, and I hope that is also something that goes across the countries, and especially with Senegal, I think those stories would be very important to share. Duncan, thank you so much.
Sport is such an equalizer, particularly for our children. Sport gives them something to dream of being.
Chester Williams is a former South African rugby player, best known as the star winger of the South African national Springbok team that won the 1995 Rugby World Cup against New Zealand, their first post-apartheid win. He tells us how his mother helped him.
No one believed in me as an individual when it comes to the rugby field. I was always deemed to be too small, could not kick, could not pass, but my mother was the one that always inspired me to be who I am today, because she was saying, doesn't matter what they say, I believe in you and I know you're going to be successful one day. When it comes to excellence, we train hard, and honestly, once you achieve it, you see the rewards in the end of all the training you've done. The most important thing for friendship is trust, the respect and the communication. The Olympic values, those are the values that I believe in.
Not every child is going to be a gold medalist, but every child can have respect and care for their body and integrity of spirit and sportsmanship.
Ilana Meyer is a South African former long-distance runner and Olympic medalist. She talks about what she received from her mother.
My mom was definitely one of the most inspirational people in my life. Her absolute unconditional love that she had, not only for me, but for everybody. She was there, good eyes, bad eyes. Her unconditional love really gave me to be brave, to really become the person that I'm meant to be, to try new things, not to be scared of failing.
What sport does, it gives you the characteristics that will help you along in life and help you to be a full human being. You don't have to be the greatest sports person, but you can have sporting values, and that makes you the greatest person.